No one is coming, not to approve you, not to fund you, not to clap while you begin. If you are waiting for belief from others before you move, you will wait until your ambition turns into a memory. And that is how most dreams die. Politely. You know the feeling. You speak your aim aloud and the room grows quiet. A smirk, a raised eyebrow, advice disguised as concern. Be realistic. Play it safe. Don't risk what you have. They call it wisdom. I call it fear, borrowed and handed to you like an inheritance. When no one believes in you, something inside begins to shake. You question yourself. You soften your language. You reduce the size of your dream so it no longer threatens the comfort of others. And slowly, you begin to agree with them. But listen carefully. History is not written by men who were understood in the beginning. It is written by men who stood alone long enough for the world to catch up. There will be seasons when belief is a solitary act, when even your closest companions doubt your direction, when you walk into rooms carrying a vision no one else can see. That is not a sign to retreat. It is a test of definiteness. Most men require applause to persist. They measure their conviction by the reactions of others. If approval comes, they proceed. If doubt appears, they hesitate. The powerful man does the opposite. He measures his conviction by the strength of his own decision. He reads his definite chief aim aloud, even when no one supports it. He goes the extra mile even when no one notices. He persists even when misunderstood, because he understands a dangerous truth. Belief is not contagious until it is proven. Imagine this moment 1 year from now. The same people who questioned you now speak your name with admiration. They claim they always knew. They stand near you as though they supported you from the beginning. They did not. Your belief carried you there alone. But there is another possibility. 1 year from now, you abandoned the dream quietly. You adjusted it to fit comfort. You chose approval over ambition. And now no one mocks you because you no longer threaten anyone. Silence can mean surrender. When no one believes in you, you stand at a crossroads invisible to others. One path demands courage without applause. The other offers comfort without achievement. Only one leads to greatness. Before this message ends, I will show you precisely how to stand alone without breaking. How to convert isolation into strength. How to use doubt as fuel instead of poison. But first, I must ask you something that only you can answer. When the room goes silent, do you shrink or do you rise? Section 1, the test of solitary conviction. Why isolation precedes power. When no one believes in you, you are not being rejected. You are being examined. There is a stage in every worthwhile pursuit where belief must survive without witness. This stage is not accidental. It is the separating ground between wish and decision. Most men measure the strength of their ambition by the reactions of others. If heads nod, they advance boldly. If brows tighten, they soften their tone. If laughter appears, they retreat slightly. They interpret silence as warning rather than as test. Silence is not opposition, it is filtration. The crowd does not resist your dream because it understands it. It resists because it cannot see it, and men fear what they cannot see. They call this fear practicality. They disguise it as wisdom. They present it gently so that you may accept it politely. Borrowed fear often sounds reasonable. When you announce an uncommon aim, the room may grow quiet. That quietness unsettles you because you seek confirmation. You expect encouragement. When it does not arrive, doubt attempts to enter disguised as humility. You begin to adjust your language. I might replaces I will. If possible, replaces inevitable. The shrinking begins subtly. This is how 10 years are lost. A man rarely abandons ambition dramatically. He reduces it gradually to avoid discomfort. He chooses belonging over boldness. He exchanges solitude for safety. History does not record the safe. Abraham Lincoln faced repeated defeat and criticism before the nation entrusted him with leadership. He was doubted not only by opponents, but by allies. Had he interpreted doubt as verdict rather than as test, his name would not be remembered. Thomas Edison endured ridicule for repeated experiment without visible success. The world did not applaud during obscurity. It questioned. Yet his conviction did not measure itself by applause. Henry Ford's early mechanical pursuits were dismissed by many who preferred established ways. He persisted not because others agreed, but because he had decided. The common thread among such men was solitary authority. Solitary authority is the ability to hold a private oath firm when no external voice supports it. This authority is forged in moments when you stand alone with your aim and choose not to shrink. The temptation to shrink is strong. Belonging feels safe. Approval feels warm. Ambition feels cold when unsupported. But warmth without growth produces stagnation. Isolation, when interpreted correctly, produces strength. Loneliness and initiation feel similar at first. One weakens, the other prepares. If you view isolation as rejection, you will retreat. If you view it as qualification, you will rise. The difference lies in interpretation. Many abandon their aim because they believe belief must be contagious before it is proven. They expect others to see what they themselves have not yet demonstrated. Belief is not contagious until it is justified by result. In the beginning, belief must be self-contained. You must become the first witness of your own conviction. The man who requires applause before action will never outrun the crowd. The man who acts from decision alone eventually compels applause. There is a dangerous crossroad when no one believes in you. One path whispers, adjust. The other commands, advance. Adjustment brings temporary comfort. Advancement brings eventual authority. If you adjust your aim to reduce discomfort, you preserve harmony but sacrifice destiny. If you advance despite discomfort, you sacrifice harmony temporarily but preserve destiny permanently. This is not cruelty toward others. It is fidelity toward yourself. You are not asked to argue. You are not asked to convince. You are asked to persist quietly. The powerful man does not waste energy persuading doubters. He invests that energy in refinement. Refinement produces proof. Proof silences doubt. The seasons of misunderstanding are brief compared to the permanence of achievement. Consider how many years are wasted waiting for endorsement. A man may spend 5 years seeking approval from family, colleagues, or companions before he begins. Those 5 years never return. If he had begun immediately, even in solitude, advancement would have been underway. 10 years can be lost seeking agreement. 10 years can be gained by acting without it. When you stand alone, your conviction strengthens or collapses. That is why this stage is essential. It reveals whether your aim is desire or decoration. Decoration seeks admiration. Desire seeks fulfillment. When no one believes in you, examine your own belief. Does it tremble? If so, strengthen it through repetition. Read your aim aloud privately. Speak it with firmness. Let your ears hear authority, even if no other ears do. Conviction grows through rehearsal. Say these words quietly when doubt from others appears. My conviction does not require applause. Silence from others strengthens my resolve. I stand firm before proof appears. Such statements are not vanity, they are reinforcement. Isolation also sharpens discernment. You learn who encourages growth and who preserves comfort. This awareness saves years of misplaced trust. The crowd resists uncommon ambition because it disrupts familiarity. Your growth unsettles those content with stillness. They do not oppose you personally. They defend their equilibrium. Understand this, and resentment disappears. You are not fighting people. You are advancing beyond limitation. In time, the same voices that questioned will speak differently. They will claim they saw potential from the beginning. This is not deception, it is revision born of evidence. But evidence only appears if you persist. The man who retreats at first doubt never experiences reversal. The man who persists despite doubt eventually witnesses transformation. Transformation begins in solitude. If you endure this stage with firmness, you will develop a quality rare among men, independence of thought. This independence saves decades. Men who depend on external validation waste years oscillating between enthusiasm and hesitation. The independent thinker acts from internal decree. Internal decree produces steady progress. Steady progress produces visible result. Visible result alters public opinion. Public opinion is late to every victory. You are early. When the room grows quiet, rise internally. Do not argue. Do not defend. Continue. For the silence that tests you today will one day introduce you, and the strength you build while alone will carry you further than applause ever could. Section 2. Borrowed fear. How to recognize and reject it before it steals years. When no one believes in you, the greatest danger is not their doubt. It is the quiet acceptance of it. Doubt spoken repeatedly has a way of entering the mind if not examined. It disguises itself as caution. It wears the tone of concern. It presents itself as loyalty. This is borrowed fear. Borrowed fear is limitation that did not originate within you, yet seeks residence in your thinking. It is passed from one uncertain mind to another through conversation, expression, and suggestion. Most men never recognize when they have accepted it. They assume their hesitation is their own. They believe their shrinking ambition is maturity. In truth, they have absorbed another's boundary. When you announce a definite aim, those around you respond according to their own beliefs about possibility. If they have lived cautiously, they will advise caution. If they have never attempted expansion, they will recommend safety. This is not malice, it is projection. Men defend the limits they have accepted. Your ambition threatens those limits. And rather than expand with you, many attempt to reduce you. Reduction begins in subtle ways. A phrase such as "be realistic" may sound reasonable, but ask yourself, realistic according to whose standard? The standard of those who never attempted what you now declare? Another phrase may follow, "do not risk what you have." But what if what you have is insufficient for what you are capable of becoming? Safety can become the most expensive choice. Many men lose 20 years selecting security over growth. They remain comfortable yet restless. They call it contentment. Yet late at night, dissatisfaction speaks quietly. That dissatisfaction is the voice of abandoned possibility. Borrowed fear enters gradually. It may begin with slight hesitation. You may reduce the boldness of your language to avoid friction. You may share less of your ambition to preserve harmony. Soon, you may begin adjusting your aim itself. This is how potential dissolves politely. Guarding your mental soil is not hostility toward others. It is protection of your growth. A farmer does not allow foreign seed to scatter carelessly upon his field. He selects what he plants deliberately. Your mind requires similar discipline. Control of suggestion determines outcome. If you allow repeated exposure to doubt, doubt strengthens. If you expose yourself repeatedly to conviction, conviction strengthens. You must decide whose voices will influence you. Andrew Carnegie surrounded himself with men who strengthened ambition rather than weakened it. He formed associations deliberately. He did not expose his developing plans to those incapable of understanding them. Henry Ford endured criticism but did not engage in argument. He refined privately. He did not seek universal approval before advancing. Selective disclosure preserves energy. Not every ambition requires announcement. Early-stage ideas are fragile. They strengthen through repetition before exposure. There is wisdom in silence. The man who reveals his aim to every skeptic invites unnecessary opposition. The man who reveals it to himself daily builds internal certainty first. Certainty, once solid, requires no defense. Fear often travels in conversation disguised as practicality. It is repeated casually. Times are uncertain. Many have failed. Be careful. Repetition of such phrases influences expectation subtly. Expectation influences conduct. Conduct influences result. If you expect failure because it was suggested repeatedly, your effort weakens unconsciously. You must reject fear that is not your own. Say these words quietly when doubt is offered. I reject fear that did not originate in my purpose. My ambition is not limited by another's caution. I protect my mental soil from unproductive suggestion. These are not declarations of arrogance. They are boundaries. Boundaries preserve strength. Environment influences ambition profoundly. If you remain immersed in conversations of limitation, ambition suffocates gradually. Change of environment does not always require relocation. It requires selection. Select what you read. Select what you hear. Select whom you confide in. Selective association saves decades. Many men spend 15 years in environments that weaken aspiration. They accept it as normal. They say, "This is simply how life works." Yet life works according to law, not resignation. Law responds to belief and effort, not to caution. Borrowed fear also appears internally. After repeated exposure, you may begin repeating doubtful phrases privately. Perhaps they are right. Maybe I should reduce the aim. What if this fails? Interrogate these thoughts. Are they evidence-based or are they echoes? Echoes fade when challenged. Challenge doubt by repeating your aim with firmness. Speak it daily. Strengthen it through clarity. When belief is repeated consistently, external doubt loses power. A man who protects his mental climate advances steadily even in skeptical environments. He listens politely, but he decides privately. He does not argue endlessly. He acts consistently. Action silences more effectively than debate. You may notice that when you stop seeking validation, others become curious. Curiosity replaces criticism gradually. This shift occurs when your conduct demonstrates seriousness. Seriousness commands respect. Borrowed fear cannot survive in the presence of disciplined repetition. If you guard your mental soil diligently for 1 year, you will prevent the infiltration of hesitation that ruins many ambitions. That year alone may save you 20 years of delayed attempt, 20 years of postponed growth, 20 years of shrinking language. When you refuse borrowed fear, you reclaim momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence builds result. Result reshapes opinion. You are not responsible for convincing others. You are responsible for protecting your internal authority. When no one believes in you, you must become the guardian of your own conviction. Guard it without hostility. Guard it without arrogance. Guard it with discipline. For once conviction strengthens fully, it will no longer require defense. And the same voices that once advised caution will speak differently. But that reversal begins only when you refuse to inherit their fear. Section 3. Turning isolation into fuel. The discipline that builds inevitable success. When you have endured silence without shrinking and rejected fear that was never yours, a new stage begins. Isolation no longer feels like threat. It becomes fuel. What once unsettled you now sharpens you. This is where the powerful man separates himself permanently from the uncertain. Opposition, when interpreted correctly, strengthens decision. Many respond to doubt with resentment. They attempt to argue, persuade, defend. This wastes energy. Energy spent defending vision is energy removed from building it. The disciplined man does not resent disbelief. He uses it. Every raised eyebrow becomes reminder. Every smirk becomes signal. Every dismissive tone becomes silent challenge. Instead of shrinking, he intensifies. There is a quiet defiance that produces greatness. It does not shout. It does not boast. It works. You must understand this clearly. Doubt from others can either weaken your aim or refine it. The difference lies in your response. If doubt wounds you, examine why. If your conviction trembles at criticism, strengthen it through repetition. Speak your aim more firmly. Clarify it more precisely. Define it until uncertainty has no foothold. Clarity dissolves injury. Edison did not treat failure publicly as humiliation. He treated it as experiment. Public ridicule did not interrupt private persistence. His energy flowed toward refinement, not argument. Ford did not assemble crowds to defend his mechanical pursuits. He assembled parts. He assembled ideas. He assembled discipline. That is quiet rebellion. When no one believes in you, work becomes your reply. Work done consistently without recognition builds muscle unseen. It builds confidence that does not depend on applause. Applause can intoxicate, discipline strengthens. There is a stage in which you labor without visible reward. Income may not yet reflect effort. Recognition may remain distant. This is where many abandon the field. They interpret invisibility as failure. Invisibility is preparation. If you persist during obscurity, you build advantage unnoticed. Skill sharpens quietly. Judgment matures. Confidence hardens. By the time recognition arrives, you are already prepared for it. The man who demands recognition before readiness collapses under pressure. The man who prepares without recognition commands when opportunity appears. Convert isolation into rehearsal. Each night review your aim. Each morning act deliberately. Each day go beyond requirement. Let disbelief sharpen your consistency. Say quietly when doubt appears, "Doubt strengthens my discipline. I persist without permission. My silence hides my preparation." Such words reframe opposition. Resentment wastes strength. Resolve multiplies it. When insult occurs, do not absorb it as injury. Extract instruction. Ask, "Is there refinement required?" If yes, refine. If no, ignore. Emotion uncontrolled weakens direction. Emotion disciplined strengthens endurance. Endurance directed produces inevitability. There is power in becoming underestimated. Underestimation grants freedom. You may advance without scrutiny. You may refine without interruption. Many powerful men were underestimated early. They were not burdened by expectation. They were free to build quietly. Use this stage wisely. Isolation also reveals commitment. When no one believes in you and you continue anyway, you discover whether your aim is decoration or destiny. Decoration dissolves under doubt. Destiny persists. If you persist for 1 full year without external encouragement, your internal authority becomes unshakable. Unshakable authority commands respect eventually. Within months of disciplined persistence, others may notice change in you. Your speech steadies. Your posture firms. Your tone sharpens. They may not understand why. They sense it. Confidence born of solitude is distinct from confidence born of praise. The former endures and the latter fluctuates. As you continue, small results will appear, minor victories, modest increases. Each one reinforces belief. Each one weakens the memory of doubt. Proof follows persistence. Persistence follows decision. Decision must remain unaltered by temporary opinion. Many stand 1 year away from breakthrough when they quit. They abandon at the precise moment resistance intensifies. Resistance often increases just before reversal. If you have guarded your mind and strengthened your discipline, you will recognize this pattern. When doubt intensifies, it may signal proximity to result. Continue. The powerful man does not require understanding from others. He requires alignment within himself. Alignment produces momentum. Momentum produces outcome. Outcome rewrites narrative. At that moment, the same voices that questioned will adjust tone. But your greatest reward will not be their approval. It will be your own certainty. Certainty built through isolation cannot be taken. You will stand differently because you know you endured without witness. You will speak differently because you know you persisted without applause. You will act differently because you know you advanced without permission. And this transformation saves decades. Decades of seeking endorsement, decades of hesitating at criticism, decades of shrinking language to preserve comfort. When no one believes in you and you rise instead of retreat, you compress years into seasons. For isolation, interpreted correctly, is not absence, it is ignition. Part 4, the inevitable reversal, when the world catches up. There comes a season when the silence breaks, not because you demanded it, not because you persuaded anyone, but because evidence has accumulated beyond denial. What was once questioned is now observed. What was once dismissed is now discussed. The reversal is quiet at first, then undeniable. This reversal does not arrive suddenly. It grows from the compound effect of steady action taken while misunderstood. When you persisted without applause, you built substance. When you guarded your mind from borrowed fear, you preserved clarity. When you converted doubt into discipline, you strengthened endurance. These forces do not vanish. They gather. The world does not believe in potential. It believes in proof. Proof arrives slowly to the impatient and swiftly to the persistent. The same individuals who advised caution may begin adjusting their tone. They may say, "I always thought you could." This is not hypocrisy as much as it is human nature. People believe in what they can see. You did not build your future upon what they could see. You built it upon what you could hold privately. That is the difference. When the reversal begins, you must guard against a new danger: arrogance. Vindication can intoxicate as easily as applause. Remember that your strength was built in solitude. Preserve that humility. Humility stabilizes success. If you seek revenge for past disbelief, you weaken your foundation. The powerful man does not punish doubters. He continues building. The true satisfaction is not their admiration. It is your self-trust. Self-trust is earned when you stand firm without witness. 1 year of steady conviction can change reputation entirely. 5 years of disciplined persistence can transform status. 10 years of unwavering belief can reshape legacy. Most men stand 1 year from visible progress when they abandon effort. They retreat because support did not arrive quickly enough. They interpret delay as denial. Delay is often refinement. The man who continues through delay becomes formidable. Imagine the difference between two men at the end of 5 years. One sought approval before every step. The other acted from decision regardless of reaction. The first may have preserved comfort. The second will have built authority. Authority attracts cooperation. Cooperation expands influence. Influence multiplies achievement. The mathematics are simple. Persistence compounded over time produces inevitability. This inevitability becomes visible to others only after it has been lived privately. You may remember the early silence, the raised eyebrows, the cautious advice. These memories will no longer wound you. They will instruct you. They will remind you that belief must be self-generated. No one carried you through that stage. Your conviction did. That realization produces calm. Calm produces clarity. Clarity sustains leadership. As your results become visible, people may gather. They may seek proximity. They may desire association. This is natural. Do not confuse their presence with their contribution. Your belief carried you here. The reversal teaches a final lesson. Approval is a byproduct, not a prerequisite. If you had waited for it, you would have remained still. If you had required belief from others before beginning, you would have never begun. This understanding alone can save 30 years. 30 years of hesitation, 30 years of abandoned attempts, 30 years of diluted ambition. The powerful man does not require understanding to advance. He requires decision. Decision held firmly attracts opportunity. Opportunity seized consistently builds reputation. Reputation influences perception. Perception shifts belief. Belief spreads after proof. But proof follows persistence. Remember this order. When applause arrives, receive it calmly. When recognition appears, accept it modestly. Continue the disciplines that built your strength. Continue guarding your mind. Continue refining skill. Continue advancing quietly. Say these words when admiration begins. My belief created this outcome. I required no permission to succeed. My conviction carried me here. These words anchor you to the truth. The crowd often admires outcome without understanding origin. They see the visible structure and ignore the invisible foundation. You know the foundation. It was built in moments when no one believed in you and you chose not to shrink. That choice separated you permanently. From this point forward, you will no longer measure yourself by the reactions of others. You will measure yourself by fidelity to your aim. Fidelity produces continuity. Continuity produces mastery. Mastery produces influence. Influence produces wealth. When no one believed in you, you were given a gift disguised as resistance. That resistance forced you inward. It compelled you to strengthen conviction. It taught you independence of thought. Independence is power. Power exercised with humility becomes greatness. And greatness never required applause at the beginning. It required courage in silence. The next time a room grows quiet when you speak your aim, you will not shrink. You will recognize the moment. You will understand that silence is not rejection. It is the threshold, and you will rise.